everyone. It's your girl Manola. Welcome to the Intergenerational Girl Talk, sponsored by Roses.
Ooh.
Today we'll be having a conversation around sisterhood caregiving in the ways that Black and Latinx communities take care of each other in different ways and how we can further that conversation in community as unity. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Manola. I run the Roses Initiative. I also am a co-director at Tranzzlation. So I want to really take the time to have everybody introduce themselves, my distinguished guest. Start with Rosita.
Buenas tardes. My name is Rosita. I am the co-director at Tranzzlation. I'm also a public health practitioner by training, and I am currently experiencing life as a permanent supportive housing project manager.
Yes. Hello, I'm Jordyn, and I am happy to be here. First off, thank you for providing this opportunity. I'm excited to see what we talk about. I am a business development manager at Amazon, where I launch beauty and streetwear brands.
Work. Well, hi, I'm Angel. I am just good old Latina doll from Seattle. Don't do much.
You do enough, though.
I do a lot.
She gets paid to be
You
pretty.
do what needs to be done.
I exist. Yeah.
And that's enough.
And that's everything.
I'm just a good retail manager over back home. So
Perfect. I'm so glad that y'all are here. I'm so glad to be having this conversation with y'all. Let's just jump in.
Okay.
So my first question is, can you share your personal experience that highlights the importance of sisterhood in your life?
Anybody?
All of us. Come on.
Okay.
okay, you know what? For me, at least a very memorable highlight would be when I first started transitioning. I was like kind of alone.
What does that mean?
What does what mean?
Transition.
We're going to have to spell it out for the girls that don't know.
No shade. Clock your teeth.
Unpack.
I am a transgendered woman.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That didn't answer the question.
Wait, I'm so confused now.
So transitioning is when an individual decides to medically change their appearance to match the way that they intrinsically feel on the inside.
Uh-huh.
You
Make that up.
You're welcome.
That. So in the beginning for me, I was just like very alone, doing it all by myself. And then it wasn't until I decided to seek out more community amongst my sisters, and I met an incredible group of women, including you guys, and just being able to speak freely and share lots of moments together and share similar experiences just gave me a sense of sisterhood with y'all.
Yes.
I love it.
I really want to highlight the impact Seattle has had on all of us. That's where our sisterhood has begun.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
A lot of us are transitioning out of Seattle.
Yes.
But, we made, like, Seattle, I always say, is a place where people go to build themselves up. I do not see it as a home for me. I know some people see it as home, but I think it's definitely a transitional space where people can go, they can either go to school, they can learn a trade, or do something, and they can take what they learn and move out. Seattle's not the end all be all, and it honestly is too expensive to be living somewhere where everybody's 90% white, and the colonial way capitalism has overwritten the city, colonial ties, and we also want to highlight that during COVID 2020, Seattle, the Chad Zone, was one of the most highlighted places on the internet. There were always newscasters there. There was always people around making sure, like, highlighting the work that we're doing. And that was of the Black and brown people in the community, taking time out their day to making sure that they're good, right? And also, during that time, we had the first Black Trans Lives Matter March that me and a couple other sisters were able to spearhead and run. And so
we also had the first Say Her Name March during that time, and I was able to help organize that and run it with phenomenal activists out in Seattle, Reverend Bianca and some of the other folks out there. So the girls have been working.
Y'all have. Jordyn, what challenges do you face in fostering sisterhood among BIPOC trans girls and femmes?
Oh, well, I think contextually, we did meet in Seattle.
Yes.
I do think that my transsexualization started in Brooklyn, however. And it's a very different place. I think in New York City, you can find every type of girl in New York City. And there's a lot of girls in New York City, the girls. And
Emphasis on the girls.
Huh?
Emphasis on the girls.
the girls, yes.
Gross.
And they're all at different stages of their transition. All types of ethnicities. There's a lot of Latin girls in New York. There's a lot of Black girls. So it's nice because there's diversity there, but also with that, the same things that I think the cisgendered heteronormative community deals with in terms of like colorism, fat phobia, et cetera, also exists within the BIPOC trans queer community. And so when it comes to building relationships with some of the other people within this community, a lot of that has an influence, unfortunately. And so I just say, like, while these differences are really nice, and it helps to kind of like see that we are a multitude, it also does create some friction between whether or not you connect with people, or if people want to connect with you.
No, real tea.
Okay.
How does intersectionality impact your experiences of sisterhood and solidarity? How do you navigate that?
When I think intersectionality, I think of the many ways that Black femininity comes and it presents itself. So I think for me, a lot of my sisterhood experiences started way before my physical transition. I think there was a way that Black femmes, specifically Black women, throughout my journey on this lovely rock, have shown up for me in ways. Even when I was very bricky in the beginning, and she was trying to find her way, the way that Black women would always honestly protect me. The way that Black femininity has shown up for me has shown me what sisterhood looks like, and I think that's been a way for me to show up for my sisters when it comes to the example of what I want and what I felt, and I want to make sure everyone can feel that. There's been times when, because I've been on my own since I was like 16,
Same.
so for me, that time it was very transformative, because a lot of although there was some disconnect within family, my chosen family of Black women that were in my community at the times, throughout those points in life, have always shown me what nurturing looked like, what care looked like. They've shown me what love looked like. They've shown me what pain looks like. They've shown me what heartbreak looks like. They've shown me what joy looks like. It's specifically Black femme joy, and I think that is beautiful.
Thank you. I want to hop over to Angel as the non-Black Latinx girl in the room. I want to know, how has sisterhood, but particularly Black sisterhood, helped you on your journey to where you are now? Because back in Seattle, you're very heavily within the Black community. So much people
I
thought you were
am.
Black.
I will say there are other Latina sisters that I do speak with and have little bonds and connections with, but for some reason it's not as deeper and actually more emotional when it comes to my Black sisters. For some reason, I gravitate more towards that energy just because it's more freeing, more liberating, and I am able to see the vulnerability and be able to also experience that vulnerability and just be more myself. And yeah, I enjoy it, and it makes me happy to be able to just it's a privilege to share my experience with you guys.
Thank you. I want to say, like, witnessing your growth has been so beautiful. Sisterhood has definitely been a journey for us, ups and downs for all of us. But like any other sisterhood, that's what it gives, right?
Yeah.
And I also want to highlight, because I felt like you couldn't say that our sisterhood started in Seattle, but you were a
did.
femme. And sisterhood does not need to be directly.
That's
You don't
true.
need to use she, her pronouns
Yes.
to give sisterhood.
That is true.
Yes.
I definitely think it started in Seattle. I think what you said
You were one of us.
about yes.
You were.
I think what you said about Seattle being a place where people go to, discover, or it's like a stop almost, like
Pit stop.
I hate Seattle, but
Okay.
Not too much.
but it was that for me. When I got there, I didn't know why I was there, and like to take it back, I born and raised in Texas, so I was living in Austin, and Seattle was on the list of places I wanted to live before I was 30.
It was?
hmm
Oh, sick.
It was Seattle, New York City, Paris, Atlanta, and I forgot the fifth one.
Paris, France.
Yes.
Because there is a Paris, Texas, so we got to make sure the girls
Work it
know.
out.
That's where
Okay.
Safari's from.
That's
we
where
gotta
who?
know.
Safari's from, I believe.
Paris, Texas.
Okay, we'll talk about that. But yeah, so when I got the opportunity to move to Seattle, I was like, okay, yes. Got there, hated it, was miserable. But I was like, I asked God, because I am a bit spiritual. So I was like, why am I here? What is my purpose? What do you want me to gain here? And I think that my transition is what he wanted me to gain, honestly. Going there, being around y'all, that was I've always had sisters, but not sisters like girls like us. So I think that even though I wasn't quite there in terms of how I was presenting, there was definitely sisterhood, and it did help push me into prepare me for the blessings that I am now receiving in New York City. So.
Amen.
How have y'all been able to show up for each other in the face of discrimination in like community as like living? I know we have several opportunities to name and how we show up for each other, but like how are intentional are y'all about that?
I mean, I don't think I ever get those moments. Because if you tell me somebody tried it, I want a replay. We're going to have to talk about it. The gift shop lady in Hawaii, specifically.
No.
I was ready to
What
read
happened to the gift
I
shop?
was ready to read
The
the
gift
doll her
shop?
Miranda rights.
So in Hawaii,
Wake it
in
up.
Hawaii,
Wake it up.
Right.
So we just went on a trip, another caregiving trip. Thank you to the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation for sponsoring that. We went on a trip to Hawaii like a week ago, and we were there doing more conversations like this, but on a beach.
Nice.
With a sickening view, and basically
Sickening.
the hotel we're staying at, there's like 10 stores inside of it. One
Very
store
touristy.
very touristy, almost like resortish, but not as fab.
Hotel mall vibes.
Yes,
Oh.
it was a 2-in-1 for special, so
Okay.
it was cute, inexpensive.
Sounds like it.
Yes,
Oh,
but
she
that's
was
Hawaii. Spent
Not
$50K on that trip. $30K just for the rooms.
Oh,
so,
my God.
Yeah, we were spending money. But I would say the situation I had was I went to the convenience store in the mall, and there was a little older lady who was working. She looked like she was Southeast Asian. People come here. Like it's heavily Asian population
that
in
makes
Hawaii,
sense.
right? And she was, taking everybody's order. She was so nice to all of the white patrons, paid me dust, did not even say nothing to me. And then I left. That person after me, she was like, "Hey, y'all." I was like, "Oh, so that was intentional." And I would say I kept getting mistaken for being from there. And I don't know if it was given, you from here, so like I'm not going to give you enough. But since these people are tourists, I know they're tourists. I'm going to give them the energy. Honestly, I'm the type of person that like I'm going to imagine the best intent. and give people benefit of the doubt. Like, because it's not always a personal thing. One of the full agreements, don't take anything personal because it's never that personal. And people have their own lives going on. But that situation definitely irritated me because I was like, I'm spending money here. Right? And all I asked was for a hello. And didn't even get that.
I mean,
No
even if
shade.
he wasn't spending money, it's just about being a decent human being.
Correct.
Yeah,
And then she tells me after a 6-hour flight and obviously a bunch of pog mimosas, so I am ready
No, she was ready to go.
for her.
Trained to go.
Let's have a conversation, mama,
TTG.
so I can read you. Obviously professional and
Rosita to the
classy.
rescue.
Because no pasa nada, you're not going to play with mine. I don't play about mine.
Thank you. One of your favorite questions. What advice would you give your younger self?
We starting so soon? We starting so early? I love these lashes. I don't want to cry them off.
Get
Okay.
it,
No.
You said, wow.
Well,
Well,
I want to hear
asked.
this.
I think I would tell... Oh. I would tell her it's okay. I would tell her it's okay. Don't worry about the outside. To continue to fight for your goals and fight for who you want to be and who you know you are. And they'll fall in line eventually.
Thank you.
I'll stop there.
Boo.
Cute.
Are you asking all of us?
All of us.
Jordyn.
Younger selves.
Okay. What would I tell my younger self? I guess that it gets better. Mind you, my mom, when I was in middle school, bought me a shirt that says "It gets better."
Oh, wow. Come on, support.
She, and at the time, I thought she was like buying it like as like
joke.
not a joke, but like I just didn't realize really the context in which that meant. Like it gets better, you know. Even though I was very much always gave them, you know. But
Yeah.
I didn't know what she was doing. But yeah, I just say it gets better. I mean, where I grew up, you know, who I was around, I feel like I was always on battle mode. Like I was always like defensive, yes. And even now, sometimes I struggle with that because I feel like I always have to be ready.
I think it's hard to navigate one, you know, being a Black person in America, one, you know, you add on our identities of trans and womanhood and all those things and how people perceive us. We're a target, right? And so it's hard to like go in spaces and feel safe, right? Because sometimes you can go into your community space in like a Black or a Latinx community and be on guard because you're ostracized from the greater community. And a lot of times, especially in the Black community, the moment you are queer, you're no longer Black.
You're no longer Black.
I hate that for us.
And so, like, being intersectional is a real thing, right? And there's nuances. And, you know, me being somebody of trans experience doesn't take away my Blackness. Because that's the first thing people recognize about me. First thing people say is see my skin.
Correct.
Then they'll assume my gender, and then they'll go on, right? There's certain layers to it. And I can't take away from it. And so I really hope and wish people could like understand like the wider communities, especially being Black, Indigenous, and PLC. Like we do the work. We always been here, right? And we're always gonna be there to take up space and also give space where there need to be space. You know?
Oh, we give so much space.
We do.
So much space.
We,
A little bit too much.
you know,
Not you.
that can be debated, right? But I definitely want to like highlight the ways in which like one, we have shown up for community, even with the Black Lives Matter marches, like Black Lives Matter period, right? Being started by 3 Black queer women, right?
Right.
And then majority of us leading the marches, protesting, the ones out there every day, right? One, also youth have been at the forefront of that, right? This is an intergenerational space, but like always highlighting the youth are the ones who usually don't have family to take care of, right? So they're able to go out and protest every day. They're able to go out and march. They were the ones who were getting sent to jail, right? During this civil rights movement, or if you want to take it out, that Stonewall or the cafeteria riots, people don't highlight enough, right? Those moments of Stormy and Silva Rivera, Miss Major, Marsha P. Johnson, like those icons within the community. Those are true icons. A lot of times we overuse the word icon when we should be saying old. No shade. Some people are just old, and it's okay to be old. It's okay to be old. It's okay to be old.
I
You
can't
know,
wait to be old.
we're not
That's a
ages.
blessing.
That is a blessing.
Because the girls don't really make it past 35.
Right.
Like, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it, right? Let's highlight our wins while we can.
Hello.
And this whole reason for my program or my podcast is giving girls the roses while they're still alive. Making sure that we can uplift those girls and make sure that they have a platform. You know, I'm just here creating a platform for y'all, and y'all can do what y'all want to do with it, right? I'm just setting a scene for y'all to talk, and y'all can feel like you want to take it somewhere, sniff it, do what you want to do. But this is just a space for us to be in community and be intentional about being community and be intentional about having conversations. Because a lot of times we're having conversations and like nobody's hearing it, and nobody knows that like they're siloed, isolated conversations. And the reason why we're filming it today is to make sure people know that like no, like these are necessary conversations that we should be having more often, more publicly. Right? So they can be shared to the wider community. And also to uplift our own stories. You know, the even outside of like just being Black, right? Our communities intrinsically, generationally, are storytellers, right? This is how we pass down recipes. Not just cooking recipes, the way we do things, the way we talk, the way we dress, right? Our swag, like just how we carry ourselves. These are recipes that have been passed down. A lot of times we are losing our recipes because we're trying to move so far from the goalposts. And I always say, there's no need to reinvent anything. It's already been done. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to progress the wheel, right? We're trying to move it forward. So taking what people have brought before us and bringing it up now and progressing it and making it fit to today's age, right? Because not everything's gonna fit. And I always say, take what you can take and leave what you can't. If it doesn't work, leave it. And what does work, take it. And on that note, I'm going to switch up the questions a little bit more. More on literally. More on caregiving and what that means for us. I'm gonna go to Andrew first with this one. What does caregiving or care mean to you? For example, how did you learn about or experience care growing up, and how has your understanding of care evolved through your life, especially as somebody who is a caregiver of little ones?
Yeah. Naturally, I am very much a caregiver already growing up. I'm very sensitive, very emotional, and just like in tune with all of that. Very motherly, so to speak. So I naturally just tend to be there for everybody, support everybody, put people first before me, and just brush whatever I have going on aside so I can be there for you and support you, and just make sure everyone's okay around me, and then I'll worry about myself in silence kind of thing. Very sad to say, but like I'm okay with that. It's weird. But
no, sometimes it's the truth. But like,
yeah.
I know you're such a hands-on caregiver, hands-on mother, right? But how do you experience care? Who takes care of you?
Oh.
I'm gonna need a napkin. I'm so
No
sorry.
shade.
Oh my god. Growing up, I didn't feel taken care of because I was always like doing things on my own. I would kind of have my family, but it was just like they didn't understand me. They didn't get me. I was just in my own little world trying to navigate my experience and how to get by. So it was really, really hard growing up. And then it turned me into this like rebellious teen, rebellious kid. And I just needed to figure things out on my own. And it didn't sit right with my family. So it's just very chaotic. So I don't think I didn't experience any care until after I made the decision to transition and find my chosen family and listen to them and hear their stories and feel a sense of peace. And I'm just like, so this is what I needed in my life 24 years later. And now I guess you can say I'm pretty content to feel the care and the love from my chosen family.
That's wonderful. You highlighted something about not feeling like you were caregived or taken care of when you were older. I struggle with saying that I had caregivers growing up or I was taken care of growing up, right? I feel like I had a roof over my head. I had food in my belly for the most part. There was warmth, electricity for the most part. There were some times there wasn't. You know, we had a wood burn stove that would be on. When we couldn't afford it, it would be hot as hell. And we would have to cook on it, right? And so, with saying that, I think when I talk about care and caregiving, I like to emphasize the intentionality behind it, right? I like to emphasize the warmth behind it, the love behind it, the reason why we are doing these things. And for me, growing up, there was no love, right? There was no deep emotional ties behind it. It was done out of responsibility. You know, I'm responsible for you, so I'm going to do this. And I think that happens in a lot of Black households. Turn 18, you move out.
It's like you're forced to grow up.
You're forced to grow up, right? And there's not a transitional space for a lot of Black people, right? But we look at other cultures, and you have multiple generations living in their household. You know, people are not forced to move out. People are not like, oh, you're 18, da-da-da, you got to move out. You got to go find a home, go get on welfare. What do you need to do? Go get a trade, figure out what you need to do for yourself to make sure you're good. And so even though I can acknowledge that, how can I acknowledge? I can acknowledge that, so I feel weird saying I was taken care of, right? I had my needs met for the most part, my basic needs, right? But when we're talking about care and caregiving and taking care of people, it goes past basic needs. Like, yes, we make sure our needs are met. And then what's next, right? What are we dreaming about? Like, what are we looking for our future? Like, what does life look like outside of struggle or surviving? A lot of us are still surviving. A lot of us don't know what it looks like to not be in survival mode, right? How can you dream when you're always in survival mode? You're always worrying about where the money coming from, you know, where the food coming from, whether you have somewhere to sleep tonight, whether it's a safe place for somewhere where you can sleep tonight, right? And
I'm gonna
Take
need
it
a napkin,
you need a
please.
napkin?
Please.
A napkin, maybe? No, don't bring your makeup, please.
Okay.
I'm trying not to. May I please have a napkin? Put your hand up.
Put your hand up. No.
Or just,
Head up. There you go.
Look at that.
And tap it.
She gave out.
sorry.
Transitional period.
Thank you so much.
Sorry.
I'm good.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm not a crier. I am.
Oh.
Not shade.
No.
No, I boo-hoo cried like 2 days ago, like
The
for like
Capricorn
5
in me
hours
got
straight.
me in tears.
It was because of Sydney. Sydney did me in. Thank you. Shout out to Sydney. Shout out to Sydney Brown. Because you had me crying for like 5 hours straight 2 days ago. And you
And I
know
hope you see
what?
this.
I'll do it again about you.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I want to highlight the non-traditional forms of caregiving, right? Our chosen families, our mutual aids, our community support, our online friends. Like, how does non-traditional caregiving show up in your lives?
Currently, I am working in homeless services, but specifically supportive housing that is encompassed with a clinic and a harm reduction public health framework that provides folks with the tools in which they need to do these behaviors in which they are going to do regardless. So clean needles, straights, bubbles, things of that nature. We make sure that folks are getting tested regularly, things of that nature. For me, when I think about caregiving, I do think about sisterhood, but I also think about the way that I can't not, as a Caribbean woman, I can't not think about the way that I care for Blackness. And I think for me specifically, so I just lost one of my favorite clients, and I'll tell you a little story. About 7-8 months ago, the police run into the facility and they have him in handcuffs. I come out of my office. He's standing in front of my office in handcuffs. There's 4 police officers around you. Now, this is an individual who has mental health concerns. They suffer with substance use disorder, and they also are on the spectrum. And they're unhoused. They have to be chronically unhoused for at least 12 months before they can come into my program. So because of that, these are folks that society has casted away. These folks are disposable to society, right? And I asked the officer, I said, what is the description of the individual in which you all are looking for? Black man, hoodie, 6'2". I said, which part of this 5'2" man looks like he's 6'2"? Which part? Tell me. Oh, I'm so sorry. It happened. So take him out of these handcuffs. I know, we're so sorry. We're going to take him out of these handcuffs now. I don't want to hear anything else. Take him out of these handcuffs. They take him out of the handcuffs. I'm so sorry. I said, called his name. I said, you're okay. It's okay. You're going to be all right. I walked him back upstairs to his unit. He was fine. Earlier this week, I saw him on Wednesday. On Thursday, I was walking around the building doing our checks and cleanings, and we knocked on his unit door. He didn't answer. Knocked 3 times. I keyed in, and I found him in his bathtub deceased. So we initiated EMS, did all the checks. I checked his blood. He was so cold. And I think it was at that moment where I realized I allowed dignity to be restored to Blackness in that situation, because this all could have happened out on the streets, and folks would have walked over him in downtown Seattle like he was nothing. And I got the opportunity to care for him the way I would want someone to care for me. And I think for so much of my journey, specifically as it pertains to shelter and housing and sex work, I have never really felt cared for. I've never had the language to understand what that means. And I think as I've gotten the opportunity to really see Blackness in all of its forms, it's allowed me to really show up and have a heart to meet people where they're at. And I think that's the goal when it comes to caring for me.
Thank you for sharing that. That was really beautiful and vulnerable. And these are the spaces and moments where, like, we can have these conversations, have these moments, have these anecdotes, have these stories, right? Keeping these people's stories alive, right? Even after they're gone. Seattle is a place where it has definitely turned into, over the last 2 years, especially after I left, as a place where people are cast away. People are forgotten. There's a huge drug problem in Seattle, in a lot of places, Denver, all the places. We can name them. Where you walk and enter the city, and if you know the smell, you can smell meth.
You can smell it.
You can smell it. You can smell these substances that people are using in the air, right? And it's really disheartening when you see them
Out in the
out in the open, at the bus stop, bent over, slumped.
5 o'clock
knowing-
on my way to the airport, mama is hitting a hammer right in front of the Morrison building in downtown Seattle. Girl, what are we doing?
People are not doing enough. Our cities, our states, our
correct.
government is not doing enough to really effectively change these situations for people. If it's not affecting white women, if it's not affecting white men, they don't care. They didn't start caring about fentanyl until these white women were overdosing.
They
right?
didn't care about estrogen until Susie Q needs it by its medical name. Oh, don't let the trans girls have it. What about Ashley and Susan? They're gonna need it eventually.
For menopause.
Down.
At its
Down.
medical name.
Sickening. And I think it's interesting in how we've all navigated these situations, right? We know we have people in our families, drug abuse, right? Alcoholism, substance abuse, all over. We come from communities where domestic violence is rampant, and how we learn to navigate those situations, how we become hyper vigilant in certain situations, and we know just how to maneuver in those areas. But I also want to highlight how people have taken care of us, right? Mutual aid in Seattle is like huge for the for the trans girls, not particularly the black ones. No shade, because they don't give the funds to the black ones. They don't.
They do it
but
in academia.
Sickening. We love a MPH, Masters in Public Health. We did it with a
Emphasis on urban communities from the University of Washington.
in epidemiology.
Work.
Let's talk about it. Come on.
We could talk about it.
Lo, let's talk
Because
about
I moved to Seattle from Las Vegas.
Well, how much?
After living in Vegas, I moved to Seattle with $700 in a backpack.
Ooh.
And I busted my ass. I emptied garbage cans at Edmonds Community College. I was an RA, and then I applied for this scholarship, the GSBA scholarship, the Greater Seattle Business Association. And they gave me a scholarship for undergrad, and they gave me $40,000 to finish my degree. And I also applied in grad school, and they paid for half of grad school.
That's
What?
lovely.
And that would have never happened in Miami. I'm from the South, baby. That girl, that is not happening down there.
It's
And-
not. I will say Seattle, leaving Seattle, I've definitely noticed the amount of care the city gives to its people, right? So many scholarships, so many low income housing initiatives, so many food pantries, so many like things. Like you can call Salvation Army in Seattle. You can call your local youth center or YMCA in Seattle, and they'll pay your light bill. They'll pay your rent, right?
The resources are there.
The resources are there, but people don't know about them, right? I don't think it's not always a lack of resources. It's the lack of visibility of resources.
Correct.
And so I think it's really important to like name those things because there are resources out, you know? And being in Chicago, there aren't resources like that, right? Being in New York, there's a couple.
New York got some resources.
Resources got some resources,
but
with stipulations and harsh stipulations, right? Like even for like to get certain health care, you have to be homeless for like 4 months and like not couch surfing because they no longer consider couch surfing homelessness. You have to actively be on the streets, right?
My thing is the folks that are making these guidelines and requirements have 9 times. I'm not going to say never because that's very definite. Have most times never experienced what they're preaching. So you have to be unhoused for 4 months. They've never been unhoused for a day. So you can't sit here and talk to someone who's been unhoused for 4 months when they're just trying to get their basic needs met and then talk about life after survival mode. Nobody teaches you that.
They don't teach it. One, there's not enough I won't say not enough resources. There's not enough resources. Let's talk about it. You right?
I mean, I think there are resources, but I think the awareness is not there for certain people because there are other things that are keeping them from being able to have that awareness.
Correct.
I think
There could be more.
two things can be true at the same time,
Yeah.
right? So there's resources, but people are not having access to those resources. People don't have the ability to sustain those resources, right? You can give somebody $500 and be like, oh, okay, your light bill's paid today, or your rent's paid today. But what are they gonna do after that? They're still living check to check, right? Minimum wage is still low, but the amount of rent is still going up, right? We have a few places where there's caps on rental, and they can go up over a certain amount. But in a lot of places, that's not a thing, right? People are still getting paid $15, $16 here, $18 there. In the South, Atlanta, it's still like $7 for minimum wage.
It's still 7, yeah.
Yeah, like I think the state the federal minimum wage is like 5 or 6 something, right?
Everything is increasing but the wage.
Literally, right?
The milk should not be $10, Biden.
No, I remember I was talking about my makeup wipes. I get Neutrogena makeup wipes went from $4.99 to $8.99.
Girl, eggs are expensive.
Eggs. First of all, I love me an egg.
Right.
Give me an egg omelet in the morning. I cook it up. Breakfast is my thing. It's called Moose
Those are
Ministries.
also $10.
Moose Ministries is something that my sister Tiana named for me because I used to always cook breakfast every morning. Shout out to my sister. Shout out to my ex-ballroom mother. Love you down. Our relationship is rock. Listen, our relationship rocks.
You want to
when I tell you
rocks?
Hot cold initiation. We've been through some things.
In the beginning of the friendship?
Beginning, middle, and current.
I love her down though.
I love her. No,
Mama is
difficult.
I don't think difficult is.
But-
I'm not even going to label her as difficult because I don't like when we label black, specifically darker skinned black women, as difficult
Name
or
it.
anything. Those stereotypes.
Name it.
I will say she is particular.
You know what?
And coming from a particular woman, I can appreciate.
As a Capricorn
As a
herself,
Capricorn myself, baby, I can appreciate that, and I love that for
triple,
her.
right?
Triple, baby.
Hard-headed.
So I like what I like, and I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it out the mud. Those are the 2 takeaways.
Period.
She's a Leo down.
I know. Tiana is definitely a Leo.
And I love
Absolutely
it.
a Leo.
I love me a Leo. I love her.
Pure fire.
She was supposed to be here
Great
today,
energy.
but she couldn't.
I love her.
Sadly. But no, I
She was
really
supposed
appreciate it.
to
She was supposed to
But
be here today.
that heart,
Oh,
though,
yeah.
that heart that she's got, I will say is like
Pure,
pure,
authentic.
and the girls can't take her back home in Seattle.
Oh, no, they hate her.
People
But
can't
girls-
take her
people can't take
because she's
her.
a dark-skinned black woman who's unapologetic, and she
Herself.
doesn't feel the need to smile into my space and act like she likes somebody. If she don't like you, you're gonna know.
Right.
If she fucks with you, you're gonna know. Excuse my French. And I think for her, it's been beautiful seeing her grow over the last 6-7 years that I've
Yes.
known her. From the young teenager, it's probably like 10 years almost, because I met her when I was 15, and we were butch queens then.
What is that?
That's your twin.
What is a witch queen?
What is a
Bitch
queen?
queen?
What is a witch queen?
For those that know, y'all know, and those who don't,
Look it up.
Google it.
A
Google
witch
is your
queen.
friend.
Google
You might
is your
see
friend.
one 5 feet away. I don't know.
We love trade. Not really. But no, it's been beautiful to see her grow, right? I also want to name her and call her into this space because she was supposed to be here, and give her roses because she is deserving. She is Miss Capitol Hill, USA. She's running currently, I think, next week or two for
Miss Washington.
Miss Washington, right?
Y'all are gonna
As
see
a
her
black
on
woman
TV.
of transparency, a dark-skinned woman, right?
Look at the material, baby.
And the material's there.
Look at the material.
Yeah, I just want to highlight her real quick and say that.
She was born to be a star.
Yeah.
Period.
Real. Love you, girl.
You know whose growth I really love though?
Who?
The one to my right.
Oh.
Cause baby,
That gagged me. I was like, oh.
gagged, honey.
No,
She got the rush. She said,
no. I was like, left, right, left. Okay, I'm right.
I'm always gonna give you your flowers because you know I love me some no. However, I live for the growth that I've seen.
"Oh
in
right,
you.
No.
work it
Oh
out."
yeah.
I live for it. It is beautiful, and I wish you nothing but the best. I know you're gonna do amazing things, but I love you.
Thank you. I find myself. I was talking to my therapist yesterday. Was it yesterday? 2 days ago. 2 days ago. About my drive and where I get it from. In the beginning, it was out of spite. You know, being told I will never be nothing. I couldn't do something, right? And then I went to therapy, and I forget that person. Shout out to my auntie Lottie Jo Durant. Oh, I shouldn't be so fast at her middle name. But shout out to Lottie Dottie for raising me. And you know what? A lot of trials and tribulations in that household, right? But I want to name, she was the person who gave me drive in the beginning after I moved out at 16, 17, right? I healed from that. And so I had to find new drive. Finding new drive has definitely been difficult because I felt like for so long I was operating out of pain. I was operating out of trauma and survival mode, right? I'm in a place now where like I'll make a cute coin, and so even though let's name this, right. When you make more, they take more. And so
Correct.
every time I get a raise, a promotion, all I see is the taxes from my last raise added into my budget, right? Into my payment, stipend, whatever, right? Why did I lose my train of thought?
That's okay.
Take your time.
Oh, perfect.
Her body tea. She get money.
No, but so basically, right? So we had to
Did I lie?
reclaim. You know, you didn't lie. We had to reclaim my time, in the words of
Reclaiming my time.
Auntie.
hashtag, right? Reclaiming my time and being more intentional about what do I want, right? Who is Manola, right? Previously, Mulani. Shout out to that government name. It's so sickening. But who was I? Like, who am I, right? What do I want to be? Who do I want to grow up to be, right? What am I striving for? Like, what's the goal? I want to say the end goal because I feel like we'll meet a goal. We'll keep growing, make a new one, right? That's the way of life. I think anything that stops growing dies. So you feel like you're done growing, and then what are you doing, right? You can clock out today. You know, like clock out and be goodbye and good night.
It's true.
No, it's true. But I want to switch gears a little bit more and get back on the topic of caregiving, right? Thinking about the other side of care now. Who provides care for you, and what does it feel like to receive care, bro? Because you take care of me.
I think I'm learning to take care of me. I have been, let me preface this, Mom has been doing the work in therapy. We've been in therapy strong for like at least 6 years. So I am able to take care of myself because there was a time in my life where I didn't see myself past 30, and I love it. 36 is fabulous, honey. I'm traveling more. I am traveling by myself, and I love that for me because walking the stroll is rough because you don't know if you're making it home or not. So coming from that to being able to tiptoe through Portugal, Porto, and Lisbon.
International.
Also, obrigado Portugal, because thank you. It was everything. Has shown me so much. It's shown me how I can really show up for myself. I know what joy looks like. I'm going to sit down at this table, and I want the arroz de marisco, which is a seafood rice.
Baby,
That is delicious.
I didn't know nothing but you
Right.
said.
You're welcome.
We
Mama
love
is
that little
trilingual,
girl.
honey. Don't worry. She
I
talks to
love
the
you.
people. Having a bottle of wine for myself, being able to journal, I think has really helped me. I think I've been able to show my self-care by being able to have the language for my feelings as I'm experiencing them, because a lot of people may not know really what public health is, but public health is very heavy in all of its fashions. So having to take that home and all that energy and being able to just sit and be still or listen to go by the water and recharge, I think those are ways that I show care for myself.
Can I give you your flowers real quick?
Sure.
And I know, get your napkin ready. Okay. I know you're gonna cry probably. I want a name that you have redefined sisterhood for me. You have shown me what it is and what it looks like to show up for somebody, fight for somebody, actually care and be intentional about it. You know, you're the reason my nails are done. I have it here in my hair, right? You're the reasons for like the small things and also the large things. Seeing your strength, seeing the way you maneuver life, seeing your drive is so inspiring. You are the reason why I am going back to school, right? You're the reason why I push education on the youth that I mentor, right? Making sure that they stay in school. Shout out to Safara Malone for being Harvard. My first youth at Harvard currently, finishing up her freshman year.
That's right.
Shout out to Safara Malone, right?
A baby.
A doll baby.
She has the world ahead of her, and I am so proud of her.
She is one of my proudest achievements. Y'all have been with me in moments of...
did you in, girl?
No, I was about to go on that.
We're not bringing that into this space, sister, but some of them did you in, girl.
But look, I want to give them...
Fab.
I want to give them the roses, right? Because they all last of my youth have turned 18. So this upcoming year, I'll be getting a new batch of young youth, right? So my last youth have just graduated high school, right? Shout out to Araya. That's my niece. Shout out to her. She just graduated too. And my little brother, Nicholas. But shout out to Ari, right? Shout out to Aliyah for teaching me that caregiving isn't always easy, right? And teaching me the intentionality that I have to put into care, right? I can't just be there and like, because I'm giving you a house and this place to stay and food in your belly and like you're going to school. No, like I was up at their schools, giving PTA, right? Advocating for them, right? It was never always appreciated, I would say. But what youth appreciates like the care they're given in the time, right? And so like I always have to think about how did I act when I was that age, right? Seeing myself in them and also seeing like, you know, like I wish I had somebody who sat me down, who went through similar experiences as me and said, I see you.
Do you know what you would have become?
No, because let's talk about Little Miss Honey. Honey Mosquito.
That angel, honey.
A child. I met them when they were 8. They had their own event going on. I went to their event and they were 8 years old. Let's talk about that. A child prodigy. Somebody that is a living representation of what it means to not be told no as a child. They're doing plays in New York on stages. 5 instruments, singing, dancing.
And mama will vogue the house down. So smart. Will give it to you and respectful. Oh.
So respectful, right?
Nice.
Very sweet.
Humble, knows her power, but doesn't flex it.
Soft.
So, at the age of like 13.
And
right?
I think that's important, specifically because we live in a world that adultifies Black and brown children, specifically Black and brown girls.
Yes.
I have to bring into this space all of the girls that are being abducted right now in the pipeline. I have to bring into the space the girls that no one talks about. I have to bring into the space all of that. And when I look at Miss Honey and I think about that, that's what Black joy looks like to me.
She is literally the representation of our wildest dreams.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her.
I can't wait to watch her get her first Emmy. She gonna eat them girls up.
She's gonna have her EGOT. You know, she'll get all her easily. She can sing, she can act,
And she could dance.
and she can dance. Triple threat, right? And she can read you under the bus because she's an intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
An intellectual read.
And she reads. Why are the girls not reading these days?
What was the last
It
book you
makes
read?
me.
Let's talk about it.
The last book that I read, which one was it? Was Sis Don't Settle.
By who?
I'm gonna mess up her name. Judge Faith. She has a book. Exactly. Judge Faith has a book that's called Sis Don't Settle, and she talks about what it is like when you're in your singleness. I am a divorcee, and I am learning what life looks like after divorce. I'm learning how to love myself again. I'm learning how to love myself without the male gaze. And I think it's important for me to talk about that because when folks think about trans women, they only think about us as sex workers. They don't think about us as love interests, as wives, as mothers, as those things. And the funny thing about it, trans women are there's a multiplicity of us in our being. So learning how to find myself through and after divorce has been very, very hard. And the book helped me learn a lot because once you start living for yourself and doing your own things, that's when others will find you. Don't look for it. Don't look for it. Do not look for it. You don't need to look for love, baby. Find the love in yourself.
You better find your camera.
Find your camera and find your light, mama. Find the love in yourself, and it'll follow you. It'll find you.
Perfect. Jordy.
Yes.
Come on. Attention. Sick name. How have gender stereotypes impacted the way you receive care or give care?
Okay.
Yeah.
She's shaking the table.
We're closing with a bang.
Give it to us.
Well, I feel like it's hard to talk about gender specific or gender
Stereotypes?
alone because I think that going back to a
Nuance.
conversation about intersectionality, I think it's not that just I'm a woman, but trans woman. I'm a Black trans woman, and so that does definitely influence, I think, some of the care that I've received. I'm someone who can protect myself if I need to. If it comes down to it, I can get down. But I also have certain, and this is maybe a stereotype that I pass on to others around me, but I think that if you are a mass-presenting person, that there is, to an extent, like a responsibility to protect if needed.
The femmes?
Femmes, yes. Not to say that, like, that looks the same for everyone, because some people fight, some people de-escalate, some people, it just depends on what you give it. But I do think that for me, like, because I am taller, I am darker skinned, and I am very independent and very kind of like, I will figure it out for myself, that oftentimes when it comes to things that others will do for certain people because they feel like they need it or like that's just like a given, like I don't necessarily get that same treatment because you're like, okay, well, George's fine. And so I think, like, in that way, like, Jordan's gonna be fine, but I don't necessarily enjoy not having the same consideration sometimes, but I'd say it definitely has an influence. And then in terms of how I care for others, I think there may be times where I fall susceptible to the same type of thinking, not giving consideration to certain people because I'm making an assumption based off of our relationship that maybe they don't need that or like that's not what they're looking for. But I do try to care for others, one, in the way that they would like to be cared for, and ask them what do they need from me, and I've tried to get better about, like, if there's a situation going on or circumstance, how can I help you? What do you need to do? What do you need me to do? Instead of just making the assumption in the first place. So.
No, that's naming. Giving people agency over their body is so important. Giving people the right to, like, say no, or say yes, or tell you what they need is so important. In closing, which is so saddening because this conversation has been so fruitful and I have so many things I want to talk about.
Thank you for being
girl.
Whoa, yeah.
Get into it. But in closing, I want everybody to go around and just name one word that is going to encapsulate their year and what they're striving for. And I'll start because you know what? I always talk about this. For me, my word of the year has been surrender.
I'll make you surrender.
You play too much, but surrender. No, honestly, my word of the year has been surrender. Right, being okay with not having all the answers, surrendering to the moment, surrendering to love, surrendering to acceptance, all those things, surrendering to being emotional, having feelings, and that being okay, surrendering to not always being okay, sickening. I love you. What about you?
I would say that my word for this year, 2024, has been healing. I've been very intentional this year with the way that I heal myself and how that shows up. Hawaii was very healing for me, and yeah, healing. And I started off the year in Portugal and Spain, so that was extremely healing for me.
My word is here.
I'm
I,
still here.
No, I think I'm a very busy bee. I move around a lot. I'm always on the go. Everyone likes the key that, they always call me and I'm doing something, which is not a lie. But I do want to get more comfortable with just being present in the moment and just in that being that, So here's been what my word is and what I've been working on this year.
I don't know what my word would be. I can't just pick a word.
Pick a phrase.
Give us a sentence, girl.
A
Give me
word.
something.
Pick a word.
Speak.
We got time.
Sure.
Can I name it for you, or name one that I think could apply?
Inspire me.
I would say growth.
Can I be honest real quick?
What's that?
You read my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to say that, but I was like, I feel like it's too cliche.
Yes, but name it.
Name
But
it.
growth. Growth would be my word for the year because I definitely have noticed a lot of growth within myself and I sense more growth coming and I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
I have so much to look forward to and I just want to breathe, relax, take it day by day and just grow.
Sickening. Speaking about growth, shout out to the growth of this podcast. Shout out to this being the official episode. And I'm just so excited to see where this goes, what builds out of it, what conversations are people having from it. And yeah, this concludes our first podcast. This is a
Shout
wrap.
out to you for having
Shout
us
out
and
to
starting
you.
it, actually.
Give my roses.
Shout
Give
out
me my
to you.
roses.
Can I also give a shout out to the Black Queen that owns this studio? Because Mama gave us a tour earlier and she was fat.
Right.
Okay.
We appreciate you.
Let's name it Black Experience Studios in Blue Grove, Illinois, I believe. Buffalo Grove, Illinois. Okay. Shout out to Black Experience Studios in Buffalo Grove, Illinois. Black owned, Black ran, Black produced, Black engineered.
Black
Let's talk
black
created,
Black
Okay.
style, black on black on black, black on black on black.
Everything but black on black crime. We are here.
To y'all contact one, you wrapped it. It was really nice. Y'all got a good close. I'm gonna step in here. I'm gonna actually, I think you should add questions to the end because I obviously watching you guys. I have 2 questions.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Okay.
Y'all can't ask, right? I'm gonna use your mic so that your audio can catch it. Can you get not the group shot? Get Milani.
Okay.
Okay, and put it on her, and then once I obviously step back in their answer and put it back on group shot, right?
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just gonna use your mic, right? So, hi, my name's T. I really loved you guys' podcast. It was super, super dope. And one thing, I guess, just in my opinion, I feel like that when like I see you ladies, one thing that you guys definitely know is self, and like I admire that about you guys. You guys, in my eyes, just kind of figure out. You guys just separate, like the world and what they may want you guys to be, and then you guys kind of identify with yourself. And like I really admire that about you guys. So, hearing that, how does that make you feel?
I'll start with that, right? I always say people within the queer community are sometimes the most introspective and self-aware people because we have to be. um, right? We're often at young ages told that we're different. And so we have to figure out what the hell does that mean? like, what do you mean I'm different? And so often being ostracized from certain communities, often being black sheep of certain families, right? We have to do the inner work. We have to figure out what does it mean to be me, and be okay with that. Also, shout out to, I don't want to say shout out too much to this because, but I'm thankful. I will say this. I'm thankful that they make you go to therapy. When you are trans, they make you go to therapy. And shout out to that because I'm healing, right? So many things that I didn't know I was traumatized from, so many things that happened and that still affected me today in my relationships, whether that's romantic, whether that's platonic with sisterhood or familial, right? The ways in which I was acting, I didn't know it was out of trauma or out of certain things that have happened to me until I name it. My therapist will say, like, that sounds like you were affected heavily about that. How does that make you feel? And I'm like, I don't have feelings. I don't know what you're talking about, and I can't name none. But give me the feeling wheel, and so I can pick out and give it what it's supposed to give.
Feelings wheel.
The feeling wheel. What feeling wheel?
Feeling well. We love resources.
I love it. I think self-actualization is important. It's not an easy journey, specifically as it pertains to trans experience. I think it took me realizing that I was Black first because I grew up in a very religious Caribbean household.
Jehovah's Witness.
I'm a Jehovah's.
It's okay. I
Healing.
took what I needed and I left what I didn't, and I'm okay with that. I'm a very spiritual woman. I talk to them all the time.
Call them when you need them.
Call them when you need them, and order my steps in your name, dear Lord, all the
You should
time.
eat, Bobo.
And that's okay because I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know who I was. And then when I found that out, I'm still learning who I am, honestly, realistically.
That's so real. Thank you.
I mean, y'all said what was on my mind, but it's nice that I appreciate that that's what you read from us. One of the things you read from us. I think that it's so true that we do have to figure out who we are. Because what we have access to when we're growing up, like our teaching, school, like models of engagement, all of these things are not really built around the lives that we live and who we are. So we have to create our blueprints and then build upon them. So, yeah.
It's your turn. About fixing your mic. I know. It's like
It's
just
fine. I
the
don't
answer,
mind holding
yeah,
it.
it's jacked.
No, I definitely love the question she asked because we know ourselves better than anybody else. And we live every day bending what's normal in society and just doing it for ourselves. And
So confidently, like real life. Like,
yeah,
walking in it so
unapologetically
confidently.
and just all we want to do is exist.
And normal is overrated.
Very.
It's so boring.
It's boring.
Girl.
All right, I'm gonna ask my last question and just I guess try to answer it quickly, right?
Okay.
I guess my second question is, as a Black woman, okay, what is something that you guys wish we understood about you guys the most?
Let's take it a step further. As a cis Black woman, as she is,
I want you to know that Black trans identity and Black trans being is not an affront to Blackness. It's not an affront to Blackness. My existence is not an affront to your existence. I'm not taking anything from you, and you're not taking anything from me because we can exist in the same space. We navigate the world the same because Black femininity, regardless of what's between our pants, regardless of what's under our shirts, and that specifically is healing because Blackness has to heal. And when I say Blackness has to heal from 300 years of chattel slavery, 300 years of colonialism. It has to heal from anti-blackness within Black communities, colorism within Black communities, Black and brown communities. It has to heal from international Black folk to African American Black folk thinking that there's a separation, and there is not. It has to heal from all of that. And until we realize that, until one of us is healed and free, none of us are healed and free, I can't do nothing but love you and wait for you to get to that point. And you can call me whatever you want to call me, say whatever you want to say about me, and that's okay. At the end of the day, I'm still going to love you because no one else is going to love you the way that I can show up and love you. And that's okay.
Name it. Name it.
I'm not.
For me, it would be that I love you. I see you. You're valid. You're beautiful, right? You're all these things. And to jump off what Ro was saying, we're not taking anything, right? We can both exist and exist in our differences. But when you look at it, there's a lot more similarities than there are differences. And I want to name that taking up space as Black people, period, whether you're cis, trans, gender conforming, any of those things, take courage. And to always name those things and always to really root ourselves in community. Because at the end of the day, we are Black before I'm anything. I can't take my Blackness away. I'm visibly Black. And so, as somebody who is visibly Black, because we have some ambiguous folk in our community that we still claim because they're valid in their identity, right? But naming that we are stronger together than we are apart, and the further that we focus on our division and our differences, the further divide will come, and the further away from liberation we will get.